And hello, welcome to Ignite Parenting Podcast. We are so honored that you joined us again for another discussion.
Yeah.
And I think today we're going to be talking about parenting while you're still healing from trauma.
Welcome to the Ignite Podcast, where biblical wisdom meets modern parenting, where it's our mission to help empower and equip parents and caregivers, as well as the local church, walking with you in implementing faith-filled language for everyday moments through God's love, a blend of encouragement, real stories, and honest conversations, so families can actively engage with their children and transmit their faith to the next generation. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Trauma is the word, huh?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be a hot topic everywhere.
Yeah.
And just like how it is everywhere, it affects everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do see a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. The thing about trauma is that trauma is a thing that it can get passed down.
Mm-hmm.
We see it often, especially speaking in parenting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that really amazing stories are made from.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we see it in session. If we're talking, just you and me, we've seen the most incredible, what would we say, post-traumatic growth.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a clinical statement, but growth that comes out of, just incredible circumstances.
Amazing things. Yeah. And I think too, when I think about trauma and kind of defining it, we have big T,
Yes.
big trauma, and we have little t, little trauma, and both are trauma.
Yes.
Still the same. And so I think it's important to recognize both of them.
Yes, it is. So you bring up such a good thing because there's nothing like parenting to bring out the trauma in everyone.
Yes, absolutely.
And so it could be a big T, but it could be a little t.
Mm-hmm.
And we find a lot of times the things that maybe we haven't dealt with, maybe we didn't know we needed to deal with, they come out when we are pressured, and parenting brings that pressure.
Absolutely.
So I'm looking forward to talking this out with you.
Yes, me too.
So how does unhealed, unresolved trauma affect parents? Oh, wow. That is a good one.
Yeah. So I think one of the ways I see it affect parents is in emotional reactivity. So how are we reacting to our kids? Are we overreacting to little things? And it could be from a result of unresolved pain.
Oh, so good. So true.
Yeah.
Are we overreacting? Are we over-involved? Are we emotionally distant?
Yeah.
I mean, these are some really hallmark signs that there are things that we haven't dealt with, and they can affect our parenting big time.
Yeah.
It's like, I guess if you were to give an illustration, it's kind of like carrying a heavy backpack. And you're doing your best, but it still weighs down. And I think one of the best illustrations I saw, I think one of the kids sent it to me, they're adults, and it's like a bunch of cups on the table, and they take a cup and they pour it into the next cup and into the next cup, and it's got dirty water into it. And that's like passing down trauma to one generation to the next generation.
Yeah.
And it can just feel like I'm trying to do life with these people, but I feel like someone has already made my backpack heavy. How do I not make these littles or these people I am entrusted with heavier too?
Yeah. I think a good example in a book I've read that kind of talks about, or a good model for that, it was The Hiding Place, Corrie ten Boom.
Oh, yes.
Her and her dad were having a discussion. Corrie had brought something up to her dad, and her dad was like, "Take my suitcase. Can you carry it?" And she tries to pick it up, and she can't. It's too heavy. And her dad said, just like our conversation we're having, it's too heavy for you. Let me carry that for you.
Wow.
And I think as a parent, when we're in a healthy mindset, we can recognize that and say, let me carry that for the time being. It's too much for you right now.
That is so good.
Yeah.
That is so good on so many levels because, I mean, we're talking about parenting, but even grandparents who are listening in, how can I carry that heavy weight for the next generation?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, how can I support parents who are maybe grappling with trying to parent? And maybe we have grandparents who are listening who maybe they didn't cause the trauma, but it married into the family.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah.
it's recognizing, I see this in you. How can I help?
Yeah.
How can I love?
Yeah. I like that.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, Leah, that makes me need to read that book again.
Oh, I love it so much.
So what are the signs and the symptoms that you are unhealed from trauma?
I think a big one I see is frequent anger,
Yes.
irritability,
Yes.
or emotional outbursts.
Ooh, that's so good. That's so good. How about feeling numb?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's one I see a lot.
Oh, so much so. I can't, they would say, I can't feel, I want to feel. I'm in this relationship with my child and I feel nothing.
Yeah.
Easily overwhelmed. That protective, overly protective.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another one is people pleasing or codependency.
Yes. Ooh, that's a big word.
Yes. I see that one a lot.
We see that one a
Yes.
lot. If people are like, what is codependency? It's literally its word. I am in a relationship where I am very dependent and I'm either in control or I have to be controlled.
Yeah.
But it's not producing anything well.
Yeah. And it just causing more stress.
What about signs and symptoms like struggling with sleep,
Yeah.
trust? And I mean, it could even be, I've become this parent, I am under a lot of stress, and now maybe it shows up in flashbacks. I mean, we're talking about trauma,
Yes.
panic attacks,
Nightmares.
avoiding certain people, even in the family.
And maybe you talked about this a little bit, but hypervigilance.
Yes.
Just always on edge
Yes.
about everything.
So good. These are some of those signs and symptoms of that unhealed trauma. And it's interesting because people think they can put it in a box, an invisible box, and then just carry on moving. But what they don't realize is that when I have been cut or wounded, my physical body will begin to bleed.
Yep.
My emotional and mental body does that as well.
Yeah. I talk a lot about pain with my clients and like, why did God let us have pain or experience pain? Well, pain is a really important trigger's not the right word. It's like it's a important cue.
Yes.
To knowing what's happening or that something's wrong.
That's so good.
Yeah.
So we try to ignore the pain or try to cover the pain. But in reality, the pain is a sign that there might be something that we need to deal with, and we definitely don't want to pass down to our children.
Yeah.
So how we see this in families, because we're talking about parenting, is we see it as different dysfunctional cycles where people will ignore things, they will protect things, they will avoid, like, and I just said that, but we avoid things like certain people, certain conversations, certain places.
Lifestyles.
Yep. And it's attached to trauma.
Yep.
But just because we don't talk about it doesn't mean it's not influencing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. So why is it important to seek help for unresolved trauma, especially as a parent?
I think it's so important because our kids can unintentionally absorb what we're going through.
Yes.
And we're not recognizing what we're going through either. And so that's when it becomes a problem.
Yes, you are so true. We can inadvertently pass it down.
Yeah.
We also know that when someone is on the healing journey, they may not be completely healed, but they have recognized the pain. They're on this healing journey. Their they will actually start saying, I feel more present with my people.
Yes.
I feel more patient
Yep.
with my people.
Yeah.
I'm able to teach my children how to handle big emotions and big feelings because I'm able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So good. Healing isn't selfish.
No.
It's not selfish. But I think a lot of times we don't seek it because we say, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough resources. I don't. The generations before us was like, you can get over it.
Yep.
Get up.
Oh, man, I hear that one too much. It makes me so upset.
It's like, why do you need to go to a therapist? Why do you need to go to the pastor? Why do you need, like, just
get over it.
Just get over it.
No.
Yeah, that's how this person is in the family. Or this is how it, we don't
Is
talk
that
about
the avoidance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's important to do it because healing isn't selfish.
Yeah.
That's so good. So going on, how can you protect your child or your children from secondhand or residual trauma as you are healing? So within that, what is maybe a big word here, intergenerational trauma?
Yes.
And how can you avoid it?
Yeah. And so intergenerational trauma is just basically emotional wounds that are passed down from one generation to the next.
Yes.
So, for example, like maybe a grandfather figure was always explosive and acted out and angry. And then the son or the grandson or just those patterns will get repeated from one generation to the next because they're observed and they're learned, and that's normal, but it's not.
It's not normal. It's not normal. For instance, piggybacking on what you said with grandfather, then everybody avoids grandfather. We have this cycle that happens, and you can only come into his presence this way, or this person is kind of the black sheep of the family and this person isn't. To repeat those patterns out again and again, and to even see it in your own parenting is a sign that there is intergenerational trauma.
Yeah.
And when you see it, much like we say about other things, you say it.
Yeah.
Like you see it, you say it.
Yep.
You talk about it. You go, you know what? I think, and maybe with a trusted friend, maybe with your spouse, I think this might be off in my family, like my family of origin. This might be something that keeps getting passed down. If you recognize it, you're getting ready to be on that path of healing.
Yeah. I think one thing too is like being stuck, feeling like, why am I always like this?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I can't move on?
That's good.
And I think when you identify that, that's a good key to recognizing, okay, there's something unhealed here.
Yes.
There's trauma. What is it?
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Yeah. If you see any kind of stuckness, any kind of avoidance, there is something there that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
It needs to be highlighted.
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot of bravery to just keep acting out the same things.
Yeah.
It's going to take some courage to say, I want this to stop.
Yeah.
I'm going to seek the Lord on this. I'm going to seek my community on this. But someone's going to have to make that step. I also, like, how do you protect your children from second-hand trauma is be honest in age-appropriate ways with them. Like, be able to talk out some of these things. Maybe you are, for instance, on the grandfather thing. You're at an event and grandfather loses it and yells, and the natural tendency is everybody just doesn't talk about it.
Yeah.
To be able to sit with a child and go, you know what, I see, just like you, that grandfather did this. And I need to recognize this.
Yeah.
And that's not good. And it's been allowed, baby. And we love Grandpa. He's great.
Yeah.
But that is not right. and we need to pray for grandpa, but we're not going to do that in our family.
Yeah.
We're not going to do that. Yeah.
I love that. Having those helpful conversations and not just brushing it under the carpet and avoiding it. And that's breaking those generational like cycles.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's developing that aspect of trust between you and your child and saying, hey, when this happens, I want to give you the freedom to come and talk to me. Now, on the other side, when they come and talk to you, sit with that.
Yeah.
Be that listening ear. How many parents do we sit with, Leah, and they go, my children don't talk to me anymore? It's not too late.
Yeah.
But you have to be able to listen without fixing. You have to be able to sit there and hear them and see them as a person and not try to defend or diminish what they're saying.
Yeah. Or on the flip side, too, sometimes I'll have kids come to me and say, like, I've never had a place to talk about this.
Wow.
And I was never taught. And, you know, I always say, like, it's not the fault of the parent because the parent also wasn't taught that either. And so extending that grace and that understanding of, okay, let's heal together.
Yes.
Let's figure out how to reconcile.
Yes. Yes. I'm learning to be able to say the words, we're learning together and we want to do better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So how can you ensure you meet emotional, mental, and spiritual needs while being a present full-time parent? Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Boy, and you know what? I look at that question. That can feel like, okay, that's a perfect parent.
Yeah, I know. That's a lot.
And you're like, wait. So how can I try to go for that goal? But yeah, give myself grace in the meantime as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's hard, especially if you are in the throes of like little kids too. Because let's talk about triggers.
I haven't been there in a while, but having small children at home can be,
Yes, it's a lot and can be overwhelming sometimes. But you know, how can it be realistic? I like to talk about being realistic with my clients too.
Yeah.
So one of the points here that I wrote down was to have, you know, self-care.
Yes.
Self-care is so important, but like, what is self-care?
I know.
Especially with little kids.
And when we talk about it, it almost feels like extracurricular.
Yes.
Like I got to have self-care and not as almost like you almost have to see it as I can't live without water.
Yes.
I need to have self-care like water.
Yeah.
And if some people go, well, but I don't have a budget like that. Self-care can be just taking a 10-minute breathing break.
Yep. Or
less than that, 5-minute breathing.
That, yeah, especially like when your kids are, you know, maybe like touching your trigger points, you know, like just recognizing, okay, I need 5 minutes.
Yes.
To go to the room and go like put myself in a safe space to calm down and de-escalate.
Yes.
And that's also, you know, modeling as well.
And it's so huge to be able to treat you like you treat others in that aspect of how would you treat a friend?
Yeah.
How would you even treat your children? I mean, we take care of these people. We love them. We nurture them. Are you nurturing and loving yourself? Like, these are things that if you don't do that, then you will come to the end of you. And it will show. I like this. It's okay to ask for help.
Yeah.
We cannot parent alone. It's not just a good idea that we shouldn't parent alone. We can't parent alone. It's not possible or do it well. We need that church community, that Christian community. We may even need counseling or journaling.
Yeah.
You know, I sat with a client a long time ago and we were talking about self-care and somehow we were talking about painting. And the client said, I haven't painted in forever.
Yeah.
And the more we talked about it, the more it came open in this person. Like they were like, I think I'm going to leave here and go to Walmart and grab some, just some quick stuff and try this again. And there are things that we give up that maybe don't have to cost a bundle.
Sure.
But it takes us to a place where we need to refresh and renew.
Yeah. Something I was thinking too along those lines is I think sometimes as a parent and seeing our kids model our behavior or even find their own ways of expressing or managing through their own emotional regulation. Like say they're angry and they want to paint a picture and they're modeling what we're doing. Like, let's encourage that and not squelch it,
Yes, so true.
Even if it makes us uncomfortable.
You bring up a good point is they will model self-care after us. Mm-hmm. So if they see us take that moment, they'll know it's okay for them to take that moment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
You put really good words to that.
No. When you begin to feel overwhelmed by trauma triggers, what are some things you can do to help alleviate the pain in the moment? Ooh, that's a good one.
I think we said this earlier, but just pain is that point that is just pointing us in the direction of healing.
Yes.
And so I think one of the ways that we can recognize that is just are we being emotionally reactive?
Yes.
Yeah.
To be able to recognize in ourselves, I think with a trauma trigger, when it happens in that moment, the first thing that comes to mind as well is grounding.
Yeah.
Grounding. When you think of someone who has lost it or they're just in their moment, you almost feel as if they're being lifted and their feet aren't on the ground. Mm-hmm. They don't really quite feel. So that's why I love that word grounding.
Yeah.
That could come as easy as breathing. Mm-hmm. It could come as easy as seeing, hearing, feeling 5 things.
Yep.
Or even 3 things if your mind can only do this. Mm-hmm. Splash cold water on your hands. Sometimes I've had clients where if they've been triggered, I'm like, just go to the sink. Keep that in your mind. Go to your sink. Turn the coldest water on and put your hands under it until your mind comes back to you. Mm-hmm. Until you can feel in your hand.
Yep.
And you're coming back. And then just even a prayer. Jesus, keep me safe.
Yeah.
Jesus,
keep me grounded.
Yes.
Keep me present.
Yes.
Help me to...
And what's interesting is when I think of the example of Jesus was so present. Mm-hmm. So being present, and that kind of loops in both of the last question that we were addressing.
Yeah.
How can you ensure that you are meeting the needs of, while being present?
Yeah.
Is that he was present. He knew when it was time to get away.
Yeah.
So because of what we know of Jesus, he's 100% God, 100% man.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, sure. Of course he knows what to do. He's God. He knows what to do.
Right.
However, he gave us examples by saying, I need to get away to a quiet place.
Yes. I love that. Yeah.
I need to. And if you look at the scriptures, it was when the crowd was pressing. It was when parenting was high. He's parenting the crowd. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of theological reach, but he was parenting the crowd. And, but he got away and he was able to take care of him. Mm-hmm. And I think that was an example that we need. Even God the Father with creating the 7th day.
Yeah.
Our Sabbath, our holy day, it gets away from us, but it's that time of going, okay, there's a great possibility that I could be triggered. Mm-hmm. What do I have in my mental health toolbox, kind of? What am I thinking of that can help me? Mm-hmm. And I might need to take that moment of rest.
Yeah. No, that's so good.
Yeah.
I love that.
Oh, girl. Don't we all? We're preaching to the choir.
I know.
So what advice, Leah, does the Bible offer about healing from trauma. What do you think?
Well,
And that one is, I mean, I think of some of the pivotal verses, but maybe one that draws you in.
yeah. I love this one from Matthew chapter 11, verse 28 to 30. It says, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest." And, like we were just saying, like God knew how to rest.
Yeah.
So we can lean on him to know, like, to show us, like, God, in the midst of my busy day, Lord, show me how I can rest. And, just partnering with the Lord and the Holy Spirit throughout your day. Like, I think it's easy as a parent to say, like, I can do it on my own, and just get stuck in that pattern and that rhythm. But creating that rhythm of just asking the Lord, like, God, help me, God, teach me, just brings that healing.
I love that. And I love that verse because it says, and I will give you rest. Think of how many times as a parent of maybe littles or kids in the home that we feel like we got to rest, but then we feel guilty because we don't feel rested.
Yeah.
And that difference between, and we know it as licensed professionals, it's not just the emotional and the mental. There's a spiritual aspect that's recognized even by our professional boards, there is a spiritual element here.
Yeah.
And so if I feel like I am not truly resting, I need to look at what am I doing with my rest? Am I inviting Jesus into my rest?
Yes. I think that's so key.
I've had some parents that I've talked to at conferences and stuff, and they've told me, Heather, when I rest, I get caught up in reels on social media. And it's so easy. It's so easy.
Absolutely.
And so we're just like, kicking back or whatever. But then after that, we feel even more drained. Okay. So we know this as professionals. That does not give life. That takes.
Yeah, takes.
I mean, it's fun. It gives you that little spike of dopamine.
Yeah.
So we're talking about professionals, but the dopamine spike, but it doesn't give you that rest. The rest is when I have that moment, I put the phone down and I lay down, or I go outside and I look at trees and I look at grass and I take a deep breath of the air outside.
Yeah.
Or I sit and I turn the candle on and I just sit where I can get bored.
Yeah.
Where I just am still and I'm knowing that He is God.
Yeah. Or even in those moments of moms or parents with littles, like you talk about going out and looking at the trees, but like if you have a newborn or a little baby and you're nap trapped, appreciating, like looking at all the features of your baby and just appreciating the beauty. I think it's in those moments that we find true rest.
Ooh, that's so good. Maybe we need to look at rest different than what we do. Resting while we still have to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, thank you for that.
Yeah.
If a child has also experienced trauma, what are some adjustments you can make to your parenting to take a more trauma-informed approach? This is so good because we have a diversity of families. I mean, we could have families where they are in the original family of origin and a child has been traumatized, but we could also have families joining that are adopted, that are foster care. And so these are elements that are so good to talk about.
Yeah. I think one huge key area that I see that's super helpful is providing emotional safety. And so what that looks like is, I think a lot of times, especially kids with, emotional or big emotions or behavioral problems, like our first instinct as a parent is to shut them down.
Yes.
But really let them know that their feelings are valid in that moment. like, let's not look at the behavior. Let's look at the emotions behind it. Let's figure out what's the core of it and go from there.
I love that. You know, when we're dealing with traumatized people, you and I know that the top priority is felt safety.
Yeah.
It's felt safety. So if they know in that instance where it could be triggering us and we're seeing behavior, they may be just asking for felt safety.
Yeah.
Like, you see me, you don't reject me, you love me.
Yeah.
Even if there is a consequence, you are drawing me in and not separating me out.
Yeah.
Because trauma always has that same loop of isolating the person. So if I can pull that child in and say, I see you, there may be consequences for that behavior.
Sure. Absolutely.
But I see you in this moment. You belong to me and I love you.
Yeah.
That's huge. I love that you brought that up, Leah.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah.
Be extra gentle and predictable. Oh my goodness. When you have a traumatized child, when you have a traumatized person, that felt safety will needs to be undergirded with predictability, consistency.
Yeah.
Consistency in schedule, consistency in how you show up.
Yeah.
Consistency in the values of the family. Trauma makes us feel unsafe. So routines that are predictable.
Yeah.
Calm voices, even if they are firm.
Yeah.
Calm voices. And just them seeing you look at them.
Yeah.
So there's nothing like parenting, and maybe you're disappointed. Maybe you're frustrated or annoyed.
Yeah.
But you are looking them in the eyes and you are letting them know that they still belong, and that actually what the family will have to walk through, whatever that is, if it's a consequence or if it's just, nurturing them, whatever that is in that process, that you're a family unit and that you're together.
Yeah. I love that you said it's like a process and that you're together in it. And it's because I think sometimes when there is a child, like you talked about adoption, like a child who has gone through so much trauma, inviting them in and becoming a unit, becoming one is just, they're going to feel safe in that space. And, change is not going to happen right away.
Right.
But as you show them safety in that space, they're going to warm up and soften. And
Isn't that so true? That goes back to what we talked about with modeling and that aspect of if we model that to our child, even though we may feel reactive ourselves, but we're modeling this to our child, we will start seeing the signs of that in our children. Yeah. I love that. So what is the importance of setting realistic expectations of yourself and your children as you heal from trauma? Oh, this is a good one. This is such a good one.
Yeah. I think grace is huge in this one.
Yes.
And it's hard.
Yes. I think I have a colleague, a cohort member, really, because I'm in school again. Oh, yay.
Oh, my goodness.
Lots of it.
Yeah.
But compassion. She does a lot of self-compassion studies. And trauma really feels awkward and hard when we try to move in areas of compassion. But it actually is the best place to be.
Yeah.
And so when we can show that grace and that compassion for ourselves, guess what? We can give compassion.
And just to kind of give like a real life example, like I work with some kiddos and, they may use words like, oh, that feels awkward or yucky. Like, I don't like that. But that doesn't mean that you don't encourage it still. Learning to use like an emotion wheel is super helpful in those moments and beginning to identify, even though they may not really like it, but those things are just helpful.
Well,
tools.
I am so glad you mentioned that.
Yeah.
So if the people want to pull down a really good resource, it would be a feelings wheel.
Yes.
And put it on their fridge. Because if you have a traumatized child or you're walking through trauma, like you're healing from trauma, you're very limited in your vocabulary emotionally.
Yeah.
And it's so good. It will feel awkward.
It will.
And like you said, I've utilized that feeling wheel with some of mine, and I will be, okay, let's go up to that feelings wheel. It's on the back of my door, and I'm like, let's, and I get the eye rolls, or I get the, like, no. But now they're like, oh, we need to go back up to the feelings wheel. Yeah. And it's the coolest thing because some of the best conversations I think we've had as family is in the kitchen. Can you imagine putting a feelings wheel on your fridge?
Yeah.
And now, it's going to be awkward, but it could be some of the best conversations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I 100% agree with that.
Healing the mind and the heart.
Yeah.
Let's talk emotionally.
Yeah. Next podcast.
And also, when you're compassionate, you're lowering the pressure to produce.
Yeah.
A lot of times when we deal with trauma, we have to slow things down. Trauma makes things go fast, like let's go, let's go, let's go. And when you're dealing with trauma, you have to slow things down and you have to ask yourself, why are we going so fast? Like, so as a parent, if you're in the middle of healing yourself, you have to go, why do I have to react like right now?
Yeah.
Like if your brain can get online, just say, why do I need to react to this right now? Why don't I just take a breath and even communicate to the child?
Yeah.
And just that aspect of compassion of just treating yourself like I don't need to be reactive.
Yeah. And recognizing that, like, this is realistic in this moment. And and I think it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen overnight, but you'll get to that point through the healing journey.
And I would encourage people if they're parenting while they're healing from trauma, hopefully you're with a counselor, but if you're not, find a good licensed counselor.
Yeah.
Is that even in our informed consent, so the document that people sign when they're coming into counseling to tell them, these are all the things you need to know of what's going to happen. There's a part in our informed consent that says, hey, just so you know, it may not feel good before it gets better.
Yeah.
Because people come in thinking, hey, it's going to be sunshine and roses with rainbows. When I open the door of the therapist room, my mind will be clear and we will have a balloon parade.
Yeah.
I just made that all up in my head because it is true.
Yeah, it's true.
But however, a lot of times when we're healing from trauma, we can have some really hard times that are before us.
Yeah.
And that actually means we're doing good work. We're actually doing the work.
Yeah.
And so we should expect ruptures. We should expect issues to come. But in that, we give ourselves that compassion, that grace to go, we're going for perfection. I mean, we're not going for perfection.
Right.
Hello. We're going for purpose, not perfection.
Yes. Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I have clients come in and we're working through trauma and they come in after we've done some work and it's like, man, I just feel so raw this week. I'm like, well, yeah, that's to be expected actually. So that those raw feelings along the way produce the healing.
And honestly, if you think about it, those raw feelings are an aspect of where some have been numb.
Yeah.
They're beginning to feel.
Yeah.
Think about an injury on your body. Sometimes it's that third day that it's really awful.
Yeah.
Like we're like, no, the neck ache is horrible on the third day. The broken bone could be, drastically horrible on the third day. That's the way it is with healing your heart and your mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. All right. So talk a bit about the power of apologizing to your child when you react out of anger, stress, when you're triggered.
Yeah. So I always say kids are the best accountability partners.
They really are.
They will hold you to your word because they have a really great memory.
You act like you speak from experience.
Just a little bit. It's like, hey, Mom, don't you remember you said you were going to do that one thing that one time?
Yeah.
Yep. No. But it's the same thing with apologizing, you know. It's like, okay, Mom, I'm going to hold you to that.
Yes.
You're saying sorry about this, and you're teaching me that this is what sorry means. Okay, let's see it, you know.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That's so good. I love how you brought that up because that aspect of sorry can be a real defensive point in our parenting. Somehow I think when we become parents, we feel like we should have it all together.
Yeah.
But parenting really is on-the-job training.
Absolutely.
I mean, even if you have the bookcase full of books on all of the parenting tricks, you're going to read one and go, okay, well, that part is not about me. Or that part, I don't know. I can't. My kids aren't like that.
Right.
You know, parenting is on-the-job training. And so you have to use an aspect of humility.
Yeah.
Humility with yourself, humility with your children. And when they say, like you said, hey, you said sorry, Mom. Why are you, why is this happening? Are you going to do that again? It can feel like, oh, I wanted to be defensive.
Yeah.
But humility is that process that it doesn't feel good.
Right.
But humility is kind of the runway towards vulnerability. And vulnerability is the environment of healing trauma.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
So true.
And even in those sorry moments is a teaching moment.
Yeah.
So the parent can turn that and say, hey, Mom messed up. And that's why I say I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't say I'm sorry to excuse it, baby. And I want to own it. You're modeling and then you're also teaching.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that goes along well with, like, I have another point here. It says healthy conflict resolution. And so, with the modeling, it's like, are we teaching them how to have conflict? I think I have so many clients as adult clients that come in, and they say, I can't handle conflict. Yes. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say.
Yes.
And in large parts because they were never shown what conflict looks like, and that actually conflict can be beneficial.
You are right. Okay, let's sit with that for a moment. Let's sit with that. Because you're right. There are a lot of adults who go, I don't know how to resolve something because we ran from it or we shut it down.
Yeah.
So honestly, having the conflict, healing while you're parenting is that aspect of we're learning our skills of honest communication, of acknowledgement, of humility, of correction, of even looking at dysfunctional cycles. Because mind you, our children are so smart as well.
They are.
They can go, okay, I see this little, and they may not even realize it. I see this little like foothold. I'm going to use it to, can I get the chocolate candy now that Mommy did something bad? Or can I get the,
Oh man, they pick up on those patterns.
So being able to see that and go, okay, no. We're not going to get off topic here. We're not going to, let's address this thing, okay? And the key here is the honest communication, that conflict resolution for them.
It's like, okay, Mommy sees this, I see this, and it's a problem. So we're gonna work through it because this isn't right.
So good. I would say, we're dealing with the younger kids. How about with the teenagers? If you're parenting teens, acknowledge that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Teens are incredibly smart.
They are.
They're amazing. And I know from generation to generation, we go, oh, those younger kids. Oh my goodness. Oh, their music, we start to sound like our parents.
Right.
Trust me, I'm there. But they're so smart and they want to bond. I mean, they come with their own, issues. They have learned to be anxious and avoidant in the attachment or even disorganized. But many times they just want to be seen. And I've learned that if I sit with a teen and I'm joining them and they know I see them, even if I don't understand all the trendy words they're saying, they lean into that like it's water to their soul. So as a teen, you can't pull the wool over their eyes. The best thing to do is to have honest conversation, to join them and not so much fix or be in correct mode all the time. Sit with them and explain. And this is very hard for parents of teens, but sit with them and show that humility. I think parents are afraid of that sometimes because they feel like they might lose power or be disrespected.
I was going to say that too about the sorry element.
And it's not that case.
No.
I mean, we can still have boundaries and be vulnerable. Yeah, we can still have boundaries and be vulnerable. And they need to see it because it's still not too late. They can still heal as well.
And, teens in therapy too, super helpful. And helping them, having the relationship with the parent is huge.
So huge.
But then also having them in a place where they can have an unbiased opinion, faith-based opinion.
I love that you brought that.
Huge.
A faith-based opinion. And I would say on top of that, if you're looking for a child or a teen licensed therapist, have one who integrates the family. Brings the family on board, and sometimes therapists can get busy when they're working with your child, but you also use your voice in that and say, hey, can we have a family session? I'll tell my littles clients, I will say from my teen to my kids, I will say, hey, confidentiality is for you. So there are things you'll tell me and they will be confidential. But we also know that 98% of your life is happening outside of here and particularly in your home. And so when I have mom and dad join the session, I'm going to ask for their input. I might even ask for what did they see in your behavior, because I believe that your behavior will tell me a lot about what you're thinking and feeling. So it's not to tell on you. It's because I know when you come into session, you can't tell me sometimes the hard things. You would rather engage play therapy, or you would rather talk about other people. And so I try to make that parenting aspect. And so I think if they're going to look for a therapist for their child or teen, while they're all healing of this, to have one that brings that parent in, maybe not every, every session, but for those parenting type of sessions.
Absolutely. I 100% agree. I oftentimes communicate regularly with the parents, and I want them to be a part of it because they're the ones that are living with them. I don't see, the only behavior I see is in the room. And so, I think that's a really great point.
It's so key. It's so key. So as we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts on parenting while still healing from trauma?
I think healing from trauma while parenting is really hard. It's a hard thing to do, but it is possible with professional help, community, accountability, and, begin and just recognizing it too is the starting point.
So huge. So huge. Any journey of healing is recognizing it, of seeing it. I think of the illustration, and the word that came to mind was parenting while still healing from trauma doesn't have to be looked at as something that is less than. It can actually be looked at as a gift. So if there's some that are watching and hearing, that they're encouraged, that if they're doing the hard work, God will honor that. God will honor that. And that is a gift that they're doing in real time. Many times we can't put ourselves in a silo and heal. I mean, we can't even do that physically when we're wounded. We might take a rest or a break, but we cannot completely isolate ourselves. We're parents. We're on the go. Let's go.
Right.
And so it's a gift that's forming, a miracle that's forming while you're doing life. So it's that giving yourself grace, because will there be times of failure? Sure.
Yeah.
And will there be times of victory? Yes.
Yeah.
I think the greatest part of healing is when maybe you don't recognize it, but as you revisit the past of where you started, you look back and go, oh, I'm not that person.
Yeah.
I love doing that with clients where it's like, when we first met, these were the signs and the symptoms we had.
Yeah.
Like, do you see how far we've climbed up this mountain?
Yeah.
Like,
it's so rewarding. Yeah. I was going to say, like, just the things that you see at the end it's so beneficial. Like, I think you said it in the beginning, but we're not always going to recognize, what's happening and what's going on, but what the fruit that's produced is just so beautiful.
So beautiful. If you want fruit that remains, that gives life, then choose to do this hard work.
Yeah.
And do it with the Lord. I love that.
Yeah.
Leah, it was so good.
Yeah,
this was so good.
Yeah.
And we thank you all for joining us. Thank you for enjoying Ignite Parenting Podcast, and we will see you again next time.
Thank you for joining us in these powerful conversations that support real talk on navigating faith-based parenting. And if you love this episode as much as we did, be sure to like and subscribe so we can invite you back. And connect with us on our socials, Ignite Parenting on Facebook and Instagram, or visit igniteparenting.com. We hope we've inspired you to learn and grow in raising lifelong followers of Jesus, building our church, our family.